You know, one of the most controversial watches in the world right now is the OMEGA Moonswatch. And a question I get more often than not is, should I buy one in 2023? And today, we're gonna find out. Welcome back to A Time on the Wrist at Chisholm Hunter. My name is Harrison, as always, and today we're covering a controversial subject. And I say controversial because the opinions on this watch vary massively between person to person in the industry. It is, of course, the OMEGA Moonswatch. Now, a question I get more often than not now, especially on the Chisholm Hunter Instagram or the YouTube or even our YouTube email address, is should I buy the OMEGA Moonswatch in 2023? Now, ever since Daniel Craig wore the OMEGA Moonswatch at a movie awards event, I've had this influx of people asking. And I thought I'd talk about it. I did some digging, I did some research, and found out some stuff that's pretty incredible and also shocking about the OMEGA Moonswatch. The first fact that I found out about when I did my digging that really shocked me, because this is just an absolutely huge number. It's humongous. But in order to tell you about this number, I need to have a comparison. So I'm gonna talk about something else for a second, because I need you guys to understand the gravity of this number. Rolex is the biggest brand in the world. They produce over 1 million watches a year, and they own 28.8% of the industry as of 2021/2022. Now, that is absolutely humongous. I'll put a pie chart up at the moment with all the other brands, but just take my word for it, that is gigantic. Now, this 1 million in production goes across all their lines. For example, Daytona, Submariner, Yachtmaster, everything. It goes across the board. The OMEGA Moonswatch sold 1.5 million units in 1 year across one line. Another thing that shocks me about the OMEGA Moonswatch is the fact that none of these watches were sold online. Now, there was chat of the OMEGA Moonswatch being put online, being listed online for sale, but at the end of the day, it didn't happen, which means that 1.5 million people have been forced into the high street to buy these watches, which is just absolutely insane. This is a very rare thing. I think Rolex is one of the only brands that still adheres to this policy of only buying in store. Now, whether you support this or not, you can't deny that it had an incredible impact on the high street. It pushed wealth back into the businesses which in essence pushed wealth back into the population. The scary thing over COVID was the fact that the high streets were so dead, and because of that, businesses struggled. Now, there was a recovery period after COVID where people were slowly getting the confidence to go back into store. And this was a catalyst to push more people to the businesses that were struggling. So in my opinion, this was a brilliant move. You know, there's a weird thing in the watch industry that I've learned after 6 or 7 years of being in the industry. It's very classical. It's very pronounced. It's maybe, you could call it a little bit old-fashioned, I suppose. It's very, you know, you go in, you get your glass of whiskey or glass of champagne, you have a seat, everyone's dressed in a suit and tie. It's very formal. That's the word I'm looking for. It's very formal. And it's very rare that we see the kind of hype beast, sneaker drop, release hype coming over into the watch world. But this release, for some reason or another, had that kind of hype around it. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing it's up to you guys. It genuinely is up to you. I can see both sides of the debate. I can see both sides of the argument, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding this topic. But what you can't deny is the amount of new faces, the amount of new people and watch enthusiasts it created. It drove so many people that would never have had an interest in watches before to the watch industry, and then nurtured them into buying a luxury watch after. And I've actually got the stats to back that up. And I'm using my phone here because I want to quote this directly from Mr. Hayek himself. So, Mr. Hayek told NZZ that in-store sales of the actual Moonwatch, the OMEGA Moonwatch, the Speedmaster Professional, had risen by more than 50% in OMEGA's own stores since the Moonswatch was unveiled. So, in my opinion, it has had an absolutely incredible impact on the industry. We have a quick message from our sponsor before we go any further, which is weird because they're also the channel. So Chisholm Hunter are authorized retailers of a ton of different watches. If you're looking for your next luxury watch, then head to chisholmhunter.co.uk and happy shopping. Now, an interesting thing happens when there's this amount of hype around a product, when there's this huge drop of a product and it has that mass market appeal. There's a huge amount of flippers. And I'm very against that. I don't think it's right to flip a watch straight after you bought it. To me, watches are about memories and the memories you can create with that timepiece. So I'm never going to be for flippers, but I can't do anything about that. It's always going to happen. And with flipping comes residual value. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story because it's highly relevant to this topic. I went on a date the other night and the lady, the young lady, had a pair of sneakers on. They were Air Max 1s or Air Max something. They were green. That's all I really remember. I didn't really clock it. And I said, nice shoes. And she said, you know, funny story about these shoes. I walked into a Nike shop 4 years ago. I bought these shoes for 90 to 100 pounds. On the pre-owned market now, they're now worth 3,000 pounds for a pair of battered old shoes. The reason that I think this is relevant and the reason that I think this is an interesting topic of conversation is that, can you imagine if OMEGA or Swatch or OMEGA/Swatch discontinue the Moonswatch? The impact that that would have on the secondary market. That would be absolutely ginormous. Now, I have an OMEGA Moonswatch and I would never ever sell it, even if it rockets in value. It kind of means something to me. It's sentimental. I won't sell it, but I can understand the appeal in people that want to keep something that has a bit of value behind it and pass it down through the generations. That's the whole appeal about luxury watches a lot of the time in the first place. So just bear that story in mind when you're making your decision to purchase this watch. And on whatever note it is that we are on, it's time for the wrist check. What is on your wrist today? It's a Chisholm Hunter tradition spanning back a year, I think, that it's been on the run. Let me know in the comments what is on your wrist today. Who has an OMEGA Moonswatch on? Is it the mission to Mercury? Is it the mission to Venus? Let me know in the comments. I currently have a Longines Spirit Titanium on. Controversial, I know. I'm actually borrowing it from a mate because I just really like it. So I don't think I'll buy it. I'm pretty poor. Anyway, on with the video. Now, as I say, I'm not really for flipping. I've never done it. The only watch I've ever sold was to make way for a new watch, and I still kept that for I think 3 or 3.5 years, and I got, you know, a real good use out of it. But if we're on the subject, the OMEGA Moonswatch on the secondary market at the moment is still selling for double, sometimes triple what it retails for. There's a clear argument, there's a clear polarization and debate about the quality of the OMEGA Moonswatch. And my rebuttal to that is, this isn't an OMEGA watch, it is a Swatch watch. It's about memories, it's about going out in the process to get it, the memory that you attach to that watch, the sentimental value that it has. It's not about the quality of this watch because it's never going to be the same quality as an OMEGA because it's a Swatch watch. Now, I understand that people would maybe expect more from it, and I get that. But what I would bear in mind is the more of these watches that get damaged or get cracked or get hit off a wall, the rarer that your watch becomes. And if they discontinue it, the more value that yours would hold. Not that I'm for flipping a watch, but the fact that it goes up in value and it can be passed down, it's quite a nice thought. I've made predictions before on this channel about watch releases, about what's going to get discontinued or what's going to get released, and sometimes I'm right, and sometimes, obviously, like most people, I am wrong. But I stand by my guns when I said that this Moonswatch will get discontinued in between 1 or 2 years. I genuinely think that it will get discontinued, and I think when it gets discontinued, people will be upset that they weren't part of that journey. Because let's not lie, it brought a ton of people together. I met people through that purchase. I purchased that OMEGA Moonswatch in Zermatt, actually, with two, you know the guys I'm talking about, fine young gentlemen, and I made great friends and I connected a great memory to that watch, and that's what it's all about. That's why they didn't sell it online. Go out, meet the community, talk to people, and I think that's what this watch did. So in my eyes, you should buy this OMEGA Moonswatch. If not for the watch itself, for the memory and sentimental value that you put on it. This, however, is just one man's opinion. It's just my opinion. Maybe I'm biased. Maybe because I own one, this is just what I'm saying. But I do think you'd like to be a part of that journey. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. I'd love to hear your guys' point of view. And also, let me know what you think of the new setup, the new style. We're trying to be more conversational instead of just doing reviews. And it's all thanks to you guys. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to have these conversations. So thank you guys so much. We're on our way to 25,000 subscribers. So if you could hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. And I'll be back in a couple of days with another interesting conversation.